So different part of the playground today. I'm in the sand dunes. I'm trying to keep out of the wind. The beach is just over there, but it is quite a bit breezy, but I will probably go and fly it down there in a minute. But I just thought I'd do the chat through here first of all. It's the JJRC H68. I've flown loads of different ones of these, this sort of style, but not for quite a while actually. So I sort of took the offer of having a go with it, and I've been flying this a few times, and it's actually good fun. You get really long flight times out of it, which is really good, especially if you're new to flying. It's got altitude hold, which again is ideal for new people who are new to it, or it's just a fun little thing. You just pop it in together. You can fly it either on your phone or on the transmitter that it comes with. It is what it is basically. It's a cheap flying object that is actually good fun. So it's a mode 2 control, which means that if we push it up, the quad will ascend. If we pull it down, it will descend. If we let go, it'll sort of into center stick, it springs back there, and then it will just sort of stay at that height. So any breeze or anything, it will drift because it doesn't have GPS or an optical flow system. It doesn't have a positioning system basically. So this breeze, it's going to definitely be going that way. Oh, and then the breeze will change. It's come from my back now. So it's a windy place. So we'll see how it gets on anyway. If I push that to the right, it will rotate to the right. Push it to the left, it rotates to the left. And then the right stick is you push it forward and the quad will go forward. Pull it backwards, it goes backwards, rolls to the right and rolls to the left. And the sticks aren't, it's not point to the compass. So any sort of position there, any slight angle or anything, you can choose wherever you go. They're nice and smooth to move around. So, and you'll see in flight, you're maneuvering it all over the place. With small stick input is really good sort of thing. Has 3 different speed rates. It always starts in low rate, and that is really low actually. And then you've got medium rate, and then I think they call it expert rate, but high rate, basically the high rate. And then this one here does flips. You press this button and then you choose whatever direction you want it to do a flip. So it basically just does a complete 360 degrees, and it does it in any direction. This one here is auto takeoff and auto land, and this one here calibrates it, so put it down somewhere level and calibrate it. You can prime the motors by pulling both the sticks down and out, and that puts it into tick over, and then you can just take off by yourself. Or if you simply press the takeoff button, the motors start and it just pops up to about 1.5 meters actually. And these are your trims, so if it starts to drift or anything, when you're in a completely calm environment, you can adjust them. But to be honest, on this level, I've never really found I've needed a lot of trim on anything. But they're there if you do, if you've had an accident or anything. If you have had an accident and sort of bashed it up a bit and had a major incident, always calibrate it, always worth calibrating it. And I've found, as I say, I've played with this a little bit, I've found if you hold the buttons down for a couple of 3 seconds, it then gives you another function, and they don't actually list this in the manual itself. So this one here is headless mode, so you hold it down a couple of 3 seconds, like I say, the lights start to flash and then it becomes in headless mode. Now if I bind it up this way, facing that way, that's always forward in headless mode, no matter what orientation the quad's in. So it'll always be going forwards, right or left, and so however you do it. Some beginners like it, I don't like it. I don't think it's a very good way to learn. I think you're better off learning normally, but that's how you do it. And then to turn it back off, again, you hold it for a couple of seconds, the lights go back onto solid, and then you're back into normal. You can turn the lights on and off with this one. So if you hold that one down for a couple of seconds, the lights go off. If you press it quickly once, it will start to descend. You can either cancel it by pressing that again, or just give it a bit of throttle, and that will cancel out the auto landing bit. And this one's actually a return to home, which doesn't actually come back home, it just comes back in a direction. So if I flew it off from here and went over there and then hit return to home, it will virtually come straight back to me. But if I took off here and put it over there and flew it out there and then hit return to home, it will just go straight past me and keep going. So, and if it was behind me, it will just keep going that way. So it will always sort of, no matter what what distance away from you and in what direction, it'll always just head back straight the way back there, sort of thing. So it's pretty useless actually, unless you've flown it only away from you. To cancel that again, just any stick input will cancel that as well. The battery, and this is what I say, I've been playing around with this for ages, and I got it purely because it's got a massive great battery in it. It's got 1800 milliamp hour, and it's a single cell, and it flies for best part of 20 minutes sort of thing on average. To be honest, I haven't measured it that much, but it just keeps going and going and going. It's like a quad that never stops giving, so I really like it for that. Plug that into there, and that's you away. You get a little charger. I'll run through all the other bits when I get back home, sort of thing. And then you've got an on-off switch for this, and it also binds either with just turning on the transmitter, then the quad, or the quad and the transmitter. They advise you quad first, then transmitter. It's entirely up to you. Now the LEDs, when you consider how bright that sun is, you can still see them. And if I come into the shade, they are really bright. They're really nice. I try and do a night flight so I can do that in the summary at the end. I usually try and do that. So I'm going to put it down somewhere level-ish, and then pop the transmitter on. You get the beep, and then it goes solid. And then the LEDs on here have gone solid as well. So that means we're actually all bound up and ready to go. It will set up a Wi-Fi hotspot because I've put the camera on. By the way, it comes. All you have to do is put the legs on and put this little camera unit on. The camera is what it is. I mean, again, it's a cheap Wi-Fi system, but it does work. So you know, it's a good thing to start with, and you're not paying out a lot of money if you're not going to get into the hobby sort of thing. You can point it up a long way, and down is not quite so much. You could alter it if you wanted to, so it tilted down a bit more. But honestly, for what it is, it more or less just facing forward is going to do, and you just simply plug it into there. The app it uses is just called JJRC, and you've got QR codes in it in the actual manual itself. If not, just search for JJRC and it comes up, sort of thing. I found the app okay. It does quite a reasonable sort of job. I'm going to fly it on the actual transmitter first of all and just see how we get on with that, but I'm going to start the video and see how we get on. There we go. So, and actually the screen isn't too bad. Like I say, I'd be pretty impressed really for what this is. So I'm going to pull the two sticks down and out, and like I say, this is starting low rate, so it'll probably drift like mad. That's at full pitch into the wind. Oh, it's actually handling it. I apologise. I really didn't think it would. Oh, this will definitely be a beach flight then. And we're sort of getting drop out on the FPV. It is what it is, like I say. Range is pretty reasonable actually. Like I say, we're sort of playing around with it. There's no interference here either, so it's quite sort of good. So we're just going to see whether it's still fighting the wind. If I go up there, it might. No, do you know, it's doing pretty good. So that's in low rates, intermediate, and then high rates. Pretty good. Like I say, those LEDs, I can see them even from here. That is pretty good. God, that wind, do you know, it's coping with it fine. Brilliant. It's really nice. We're getting bits of jello on the actual video as well, but I don't think it's too bad. It is. Well, I don't think it's too bad. I'll tell you what, that wind, I'll take the, I've got a wind suppressor on the actual mic, lapel mic, but I'll put a little bit of footage on of the head cam, and you'll hear how windy it is. It truly is windy. So I'm not going to fly away too far. But like I say, it's just an enjoyable flight. That, you know, that's what I want to do the hobby for. And I think this does a pretty good job of it. Yeah, okay, you can see when it catches that wind. I see what I could show you that, whoa, that wind's getting worse. I can go down further into the dunes actually. I just thought I'd give it a real go here. Oh, I'm on full pitch and it's struggling against it. So I'll go down into here and I'll show you the other functions. So we can do flips. There we go. And just simply press that button and then choose what direction you want it to flip in. The high and low rates, like I showed you there, and then we've got the return to home. So I'll just show you how that works. Though it doesn't work actually, obviously. There we go. And it's starting to go that way, like I said it would. So it would just keep going until it hits something basically. So return to home's not a lot good. The headless mode, I'll show you that. So I've just held that, and then forward, that's always forward there. Backwards is towards me. Right and left. So if I set myself up for it, there we go. So that's forward, which is actually where I bound it, just up there sort of thing. So right, it can, I've never really found a use for it, but you know, I suppose if you're new to it, it means it's going back and forwards. But of course, as soon as I change like that, backwards is now that way. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me, I must admit. But I suppose, one thing you could do, I suppose, is just, you could panel on with you or whatever, I don't know. I've never really found a use for it. You can do it with the two sticks, I always find, for me anyway. And then to cancel out that, you have to hold that down for a couple of seconds, you get a nice beep, and then the LEDs have gone nice and solid again. You got your auto land, to press that and it will just come into land. Bonk, oh, and turns up You can cancel it, like I say, and you've got the auto takeoff as well there as well. There you go, just press that and it's up and away, and obviously the wind's just going to catch it. Here it's not, see we're out in the breeze here, but I'll take you out on the beach in a minute and you'll actually see how windy it is. Probably it will die down. Scotland, it can just be gusting and then stop, or it can be blowing all day. It just suits itself really. FPV, oh, it's sort of, oh no, it's sort of freezing up a bit. It is reasonably usable. Well, you can certainly line up shots and things. So. That's brilliant. It fly, that's what I mean. Yeah, just take the altitude hold off. This could be a real bit of fun. But if you're new to flying, it's probably just as well to have the altitude hold. But it really it's not fast, but it gets enough shift on for what it is. And when you see how long this thing flies for, it's amazing. Like I say, fun. Cool. So I'm going to stop the video there, and then let's just take a still. They're usually exactly the same quality, and there's no recording on board, by the way. It records back to your phone, so that's what it does. Tell you what, I'll fly on the app next, so I'll keep it down here because it's nice and we are really calm here, and then I'll take you out on the beach afterwards. So you can just bring it in to land, or to be honest, probably a better way of landing, certainly if you're on a beach, shouldn't really have electronics kicking around with sound and things. I'll just show you. You can actually just sort of just catch it in your hand and throttle off. Hold the throttle down and then it'll kill it after a couple of seconds, and you don't get sand or gritting anywhere. It hasn't actually got any anywhere anyway. So. To fly on the app, really simple. Just simply turn off the transmitter. And we should have gone back to flashing LEDs. We have, there we go. And the reason being is I haven't turned the controls on my phone. So if I turn those on, now we've gone solid LED, so we're all ready to fly. You've got your 3 different rates as well, and I've done a full video on how to fly using an app, and this is basically exactly the same, and I'll put a link down in the description for you, obviously. So I'm going to put it on because it's an altitude hold model, so you put the altitude hold on. Got the auto takeoff and auto land as well. So let's just see how we get on. So you usually get much lower rates, and as you can see, that's full roll, and it's hardly doing anything. But it does work. Let's start that video again. I'm going to pop it up into 30%. And again, not terrific, up to 60%, sorry, it's intermediate rates, and then up into high rates. And this one's not too bad, actually. I still think we get slightly more on the actual transmitter, but we probably don't. It's probably just me preferring the transmitter, to be honest. But that's pretty flyable. You know, we've got those little bits of wind, certainly up where that is now, there'll be a bit of wind. Just pulsing it. No. The one thing I haven't managed to get working is the actual gyro on this, so you can... Okay, I knew you could fly it on the gyro on your phone, sorry. I just forgot. On this one, on some of the apps, you have to hold your thumb down in the middle of this, and then it'll activate it, so you can basically jump in and out of it quite easily. So let's just quickly show you that. Let's press that down. There we go. Now, as I tilt my phone, it'll go whatever way I'm tilting my phone. You've still got all your other controls. So long as you keep that button pressed down in the middle, you're fine with it. All I ever do with this is let the grandkids have a go with it, that's all. And I usually find if you turn the way that it's flying, it's a lot easier. And then obviously just press that and you're back in normal control then. I actually much prefer the joystick control, but hey, if you want to play with the gyro, you can. And there's an emergency stop with this one as well, so you just press this and it will just kill the motors wherever. So if you're getting into a sort of awkward situation where you really want to just drop it out of the sky, press that and it will drop. And see, she's a precise little flyer as well, that's what I like as well. Nice. I like it. You got that impression, did you? The fact I'm doing a review on it probably gives that away. Oh, the wind just caught it there. There we go. So yeah, and like I say, loads of flight time. I've not had any issues with the motors either. That would be a concern, obviously, if you're flying it for 20 minutes at a time every time. But it's such a little lightweight, the motors seem to cope pretty well. I don't think it puts too much strain on it, to be perfectly honest. And we've got the auto takeoff and auto land as well. And what I'll do is I'll just show you the sort of mission planner bit, which I never really like, but I'll show it to you anyway. So now just going a loop around. Like I say, I'm never particularly impressed with it. Certainly not when it's trying to go right the way over there. Let's just bring it back against the wind. So what you do on this sort of, I don't know what you call it, mission planner, waypoint thing. I don't know. Well, that wind's coming the other direction now. Problem is with the dunes, it sort of rolls around in here, which is actually entertaining. Must bring one of the sports flyers down here, that would be good fun. So if I go onto that again, and then basically you just draw where you want it to go, and it will sort of go in that direction. There we go. I'm never particularly impressed with it. Well, I'm not going to be now. Whoa! That doesn't want to take any prisoners, does it? I was just about to take back control of that. Or you could hit the kill button, I suppose. That's one of the reasons I don't really like it, to be honest. So there we go, no damage at all. I must admit, I've flown this loads of times, like I say, and the props are pretty flexible, and I've not had any damage on it at all. I've had a few incidents with the granddaughter's been playing with it as well, so I've sort of seemed quite happy with it. So I'm just going to show you, if you've had an accident and it starts to sort of misbehave when you're trying to fly, hopefully you can see that. Just going to press this button here, and then that will just calibrate it. You can see the flashing LEDs. And then they stop flashing. That means you've calibrated the gyro, so it should fly nice and level again. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to take it out onto the beach and see whether it can cope out there. Handy thing if you learn to hand launch, so basically just press this and it will take off, and hand catch is you can take off in sort of restrictive areas where you've got no clear way of taking off, obviously when you get confident enough to do it. Kind of pop the video on, and this is the beach I was telling you about. So it goes on for literally miles all the way down there, and it's actually quite busy today. This is a busy day for this beach, to be perfectly honest. And usually when the tide goes out and nearly goes out to that island over there, you've got loads of sandbanks. So it copes with it, no problem. Actually, the footage looks all right on the phone for what it is. Again, we've got to put this into context. It's not a £1,000 drone. And certainly range is no problem at all. And that's still holding on the Wi-Fi as well, so quite impressed with that. Breeze is just taking it across quite nicely. But if you want nice level footage, quite a nice good thing to do is to just let it catch the breeze, because you're not fighting with it, so you're not pushing it in any sort of direction, and it will just give you sort of half reasonable footage as well. Yeah, like I say, now the breeze has died right down. These were blowing all over the place 10 minutes ago. That range is pretty impressive off such a tiny little thing. Oh, there we go, we were getting a bit of a drop out there, but not much. Yeah, just into the breeze. And that's in low rate, so now the breeze is actually fighting against it. That's high rate, it's struggling. We'll go that way, it'll go like the clappers. But it's coping. Really nice. Yeah. And again, like I say, just let it sort of stabilise and it should come up sort of half reasonable footage then. And you get flashing LEDs when it's starting to get low on its battery as well. Now, something I haven't tried is if you actually kill the transmitter on it. I will just do that for you now. There we go, it'll just come in and land. There we go. So I thought it would. That's why I didn't really feel as though I was risking anything. So about 3 or 4 seconds, and then it would just slowly descend as if it wants to land. And obviously we've got the flashing LEDs because we're not connected anymore. So there we go. You probably got the impression. I like it for what it is, and it's pretty good, I think. The camera is what it is. Again, we're looking at something here, and it's on special offer at the moment at GearBest. I'll put a link down in the description. It's the cheapest I could find it on the web, and I know people then say, oh, I found it on this, that and the other, but honestly, I've had a look around. It's usually about 50 to 60 quid most places. GearBest have got it at 42 quid at the moment, so that's at time of review, and there's only a few days on that offer. I'm impressed with it for what it is and what it does. I'm pretty happy with it, I must admit. It's a good little flyer. That's the bit I like. It's enjoyable to fly. You saw it handle against the wind and everything, and you can fly it on the app, you can fly it on the transmitter's pretty good. Everything works really well, and it's not overly complicated. The only thing they don't do is point out what the buttons do when you hold them down, but I've explained all that in the review for you. The big bonus with this quad over many other quads like this is this 1800 milliamp hour battery, and that's going to give you that 18 to 20 minutes flight. That's what I was getting on average. It was always around that sort of time. I don't think I got anything under 18 minutes, which I was pretty pleased with. The charger that comes with it is this little one here, a USB one, so into a power bank or your computer or your car charger or whatever, or a mains adapter, but it does take 2.5 hours to 3 hours, something like that. It's a pretty long old charge. Takes for ages to get this charged. That's all right if you're doing that overnight, or doing it of an evening. That's no bother. If you want something faster, then I use this sort of hobby grade one here. It's going to cost you 20 quid, but then you've got all sorts of functions and features that you can use it on anything that you go up to with the RC hobby, certainly. And that will charge it in an hour. So if that's the extra 20 quid, might be worth it. Now I got a little Brucey bonus with mine. I got 2 sets of landing gear. Now I don't know if that's normal or whether they just packaged it wrong, but quite handy. I can't ever see you really damaging them because it's not heavy enough to sort of damage the gear, but it's there, and it's a nice little flyer. I didn't actually put it in there, but I actually flew it, just popped the landing gear off, popped the little camera off and everything, and it's a nice little flyer just as is, to be honest. As you can see, the LEDs are really bright on it, and even in bright sunlight you could see them for orientation, so again, really good. Spare set of props, you got spare little screws as well. And like I said, I had a few incidents with it. The grandkids ploughed it into a few things, and it's actually come out no damage whatsoever. Really good. You get an instruction manual with it, which is pretty good. Runs through more or less everything on the actual transmitter and everything. Nice and simple, usual sort of JJRC level. And the app is, I find their app a little bit, it's quite simple, and it does what it's supposed to do, which I like. Some of the apps have got so many drop down menus and play arounds, they get really confusing, or you sort of need a degree in it to actually be able to just get out and fly, and if this is aimed at that sort of person, I think. The phone holder's good as well, pops in there, and yeah, it all worked really well. As you can tell, I'm really quite impressed with it. Any negatives on it? Well, the camera I thought was well, I can't really say that's a negative either, because the camera is what the camera is. We're looking at a cheap drone here that can actually take some footage, and I thought it was pretty good, so that's why I've run a whole load of footage around here for you as well. So there we go, links down in the description. Hope you've enjoyed this one, and I'll see you on the next one.